everybody. It is Eddie Speed, and we are glad to have you guys today. I have one of my most special guests, and this guy's named Dave Franecki. He lives in Phoenix, Arizona, and I've gotten to know him very well over the years. And we're going to have a fun time talking about Dave's journey in the business and what that's looked like overall, and some of the things that really life has looked like for Dave as he's really progressed and become a pro in the business. I want to talk to you a little bit about what your why was. So let's go back, way back. What year was that?
2013.
2013. When you saw adding the note business to your business at that moment, what did you view as what was your why?
My why after that was to lighten up on life, to get rid of the stress and enjoy my family, and hiking in the mountains here, as we've talked about. It immediately was about, I could do that. I was an REO guy, and I could be the asset manager and just track it backwards. So I just totally saw myself in this position as being a viable scenario.
And I think it's a major thing, Dave, for a lot of people. You know, it's like we kind of forget we do all this to make money to go do what, right? They're not going to stuff all the money in your casket, right?
Right. I mean, the REO business was just a grinder.
Yeah. And
I was really getting tired of it, but I also saw it was going to be ending soon. I could see that writing on the wall.
So in the early days of REO, 2009, 10, 11 in there, how many houses were you selling a year?
2010, I closed 296. And then the Dodd-Frank stuff kicked in. They capped what we could do. So I saw Big Brother holding us back. In that entire window of time, my best month was 45 a month, typically averaging 25 or 30 closings a month. January of 10, I got 65 listings, which was a lot of work. So go ahead, I'm sorry.
You were what was known as an REO specialist realtor, right? You were a specialist realtor that sold houses. So you were dealing with distressed assets. You just weren't buying notes.
That's correct. My total focus was making the asset managers happy and closing as many deals as I could, because that dictated what I'd get for listings the next month.
Got some pictures of you. And yeah. So just kind of give us a quick story of where those are.
Sure. The top picture with the sunglasses and we'll go the distance to get the job done was a short marketing video for the asset managers. And I started in my office, went up to top of Squaw Peak, or Piestewa Peak to be politically correct, and just said, we'll do what we got to do to get the job done. So it was, I was purposely doing it casual to show that I was a hands-on guy.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the video on the right, I was in front of one of my listings in North Phoenix. I had the two boxes in my hand, and I just said, here we are, this is what we do. And I touch every single house, which is what I did on 900 to 1,000 properties. I was at every single house. Yeah. Then progressing and fast forwarding, the picture to the left bottom was me maybe 2 months ago at the same location. But the irony was the hat I have on looks like another red hat, but it said, let's make seller financing great again, or something to that effect. It was a joke, but I wore it. I wanted to get comments because it was confrontational in its own way, or created conversations.
Yeah. Well, that was some hats we had made for the Seller Finance Coalition.
Correct.
The first thing is 2003. This is the first year in the note business. So you did some training with Note School, but you didn't do the Magnum training with Note School.
Correct. I came in at the initial level, and I worked non-performing, and I tweaked it a little bit because I still had a fair amount of REO business. I didn't want to give it up, but I just kind of babied it along, learning the ropes, started a few deals. They turned out really well. Some were so-so, but for the most part, it was a very, very good experience, but on a very short, limited basis.
Yeah, and I want to say this. Part of your saying 20% success is you weren't spending a lot of time doing this.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
But I built my foundation, which is paying off now.
So you hadn't transitioned your whole full time in the business.
I couldn't. There was too much money still with REO.
Right. All right. 2014 comes along, and you've kind of gotten rid of a lot of your REO.
Right.
And you decide you're going to transition and do a lot more notes.
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
So what happened?
So I just walked it through again. Step by step, taking a few things through, I jumped up to another level in the business, the performing side. Yeah, I chased teaching agents on seller finance. I was approved by the Arizona Department of Real Estate to teach continuing education, and I ran that rabbit trail for a year, and it was good for public speaking.
So here's what happened. Here's what happened. Dave sees me at an event, and he says, "Hey, man, you know I was a real estate agent." I'm like, "Of course I know that, Dave." He goes, "Well, I'm buddies with all these real estate agents." I said, "Yes." And he goes, "So listen, I'm going to go start having classes, and I'm going to teach them compliance with Dodd-Frank related to seller financing, and I'm going to go teach classes teaching realtors how to start creating seller financing on their properties." 2015, baby. What did you do?
What did I do? I thought I started jumping into the performing, and then I saw you and your team at a resort here in Phoenix, and I brought you 4 really good performing notes, and I said, "Guys, what do I do?" You walked me through it. I didn't get the deals, and I kicked in, and I got very active.
Right. And I want to be clear about this. When you said you were doing non-performing and you weren't that successful, you did some successful deals.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
number was 20%, but only 20% of your income was notes at the moment.
That's correct.
Right.
And I still have some of those in partials and things like that out there. So that it's all good.
All right, 2016, you're going up. You're like the Jeffersons. You're going up.
Right. Yeah. I'm doing meetups. I'm just doing it all. I'm out there actively looking. I'm doing mailings. I'm doing everything, and it was a great year. It was a really good year.
2017.
Kicking in again. The meetup is growing like crazy. I'm getting individual investors, which is something I was always looking to find. They're buying whole notes. They're buying partials. The meetup is growing like crazy. Last December, we had 60 plus people. It was a very good year, developing relationships, a little bit of speaking on it. It's good.
All right, so I built this. So here you were here, right?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Then you progressed to here, right?
Right.
Then about here, you became that deal architect guy I keep talking about, right?
The really fun part.
Yeah, the deal architect. And then as you progressed, there you are.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And I want to say this. I appreciate the fact that for the last 3 years, you easily could have said you were a 100, and I just used your percentages. And I thought, I asked you at one point in the conversation, I says, "Hey, dude, we're building out this graph for you, and I noticed you didn't put 100, and I thought the best answer I've ever heard was you said, "I'll never put 100."
Yeah, and to that point, I had a email conversation with Kevin Moore, and he said, "Dave, how's it going?" I said, "Kevin, I'm always learning. It's like I've never really arrived."
But I will tell you, in the last many years, you have been the student that I would say that you have done what I've told you, and I'm honored to that. And you've had some really cool stuff happen to you. So one of the niches, guys, that we teach, one of the 6 niches that we teach in the industry today is the niche called one-off seller financing. Okay. And I don't want to make a mystery out of that. This is just typically where somebody has one single owner finance note and they want to sell it, right? They don't own a portfolio. You know, they're not a real estate investor and they have 50 owner finance notes. This is just what we call mom and pop, right? Typically an individual that sold their property. And so you entered that space, and I want to talk about buying or brokering one-off seller finance. Okay. So in the 1990s, this became a very prevalent business. The reason it was pretty simple. There were seminar companies that were, spending $1 million a month on TV, telling people they could be a note broker, right? A note finder or whatever, right? And so it became, I started doing this. I really perfected the idea of buying one-off seller finance notes through direct mail in like 1992. I mean, I'm the guy that was the first guy to strike that match. But it got really competitive. I mean, it was very common that people would go to their mailbox in a month's time and have 30 to 50 solicitations of people buying their note, right? So today, there's not a bunch of competition, right? There's not 30 or 50 people mailing your letter. And Dave, you've heard me say 2 or 3 years ago, right up to this moment, this is probably one of the most underserved areas in the note buying space, right?
Correct.
And you listened to me and you
Right.
said, well, I like that idea. I like the word underserved. And so you bailed off in this and started dropping mail. And the cool thing about it is you live in Phoenix and you have bought assets all over the country and almost none in Phoenix.
Only one in Phoenix.
Yeah. So this, you figured out you could live where you wanted to live, and you like hiking, and Arizona has some really cool hiking, and you got a little grandkid that's the eye of your life, and a daughter too, right?
Correct.
And they live in Phoenix, and this is where you want to live because this is where your family is. It's where your hobby is. And by the way, for an old man, you're in pretty dang good shape. By the way, I just want to tell you that.
That's because I'm running for all the rattlesnakes.
I know. Right, so let's talk about direct mail. So when you mail this mail, who owns these notes? What have they sold? Right?
Yep.
They've sold houses? Yeah.
They've typically sold houses, some land, light commercial maybe a little bit, but mostly houses and land.
Yeah. But we have crushed it doing some light commercial along the way.
A little bit. I did see a couple of them, but again, most of them were the first and the second.
Yep. All right. So every note flipper's goal should just be like the Bluebell Ice Cream Company slogan. So Dave, there's an ice cream company here in Texas called Bluebell Ice Cream. Okay?
Yep. Great ice cream.
Great ice cream. Here's their slogan. We eat all we can and we sell the rest. Well, let me tell you something. If it'll work for a scoop of ice cream, it'll dang sure work buying notes. So you have brokered and made a living brokering notes at least 2 of the years you've been in the business, probably more than that. Okay?
Correct. Yeah.
But you've never lost sight of the fact that you don't want to be a note flipper and have nothing that grows wealth, because flipping a note's like flipping a house. There's no wealth in it. It's just surviving for the moment, right?
Right. Correct.
And I get that. I totally get that. But the deal is you should do both. You should build long-term wealth and then make short-term income, right? That's the magic. So let's look at a case study. So you drop direct mail, you buy an asset. Hey, you look better in that picture, by the way, than you do up there on the top of that mountain. I'm just saying. So you buy a note on a property in, how do you pronounce that? Imlay City, Michigan. So it's a suburb. So this must be a pretty nice suburb, because up in that neck of the woods, a lot of property, that market hasn't recovered like a lot of the country. But this property was dang valuable.
Yep, correct.
So it must have been a really good area. People don't think a lot of people think, well, nobody would sell or finance a property like this, right?
Right.
And I think that's consistent with what kind of people build in their mind, right? They build these ideas and they think this and that. Well, that isn't necessarily how it works. We think that's how it works, but that's not necessarily how it works. All right. So you buy this note as a performing note, seller finance note. You send a letter to them offering to buy. Here is the terms of their note. Now the property was worth $157,000. They had a first lien on the property, and that buyer had made a little down payment. Okay, that was at the time they closed. Okay, now here's the sweet part of the deal. Okay, 81 payments made later, you buy this note.
Right.
They have paid the loan down, and the property has gone up in value because they sold it at the worst of times. They owe $27,000. The property is worth $157,000. It's 17%. The loan balance is 17% of the property value. 17% loan to value ratio. I don't know what somebody would call safe. I'd say this is safe enough.
It's okay. When I saw numbers like that, Eddie, I thought, how can you go wrong?
Well, I mean, there's a due diligence process, right? And there's a process you had to learn to go do it, but you did. Okay, so the loan balance is paid way down, and honestly, you know, I didn't even make it. I didn't even try to make it exactly look 17% because it was so good, but I could actually pull the scale down a little bit more compared to the whole property value thing. So you buy this note, and here's the terms of the note. Okay, remaining terms, right? Loan balance $27,039. It's written at what? 10% interest. So the note itself pays 10% interest. Okay. There's 279 payments remaining. I bet a lot of people say, oh my gosh, I don't want to wait that long, right? Not realizing that most notes like this are going to pay off in 6 to 8 years, right? And then the monthly payment is $250 a month. Their mortgage payment on their house was $250 a month. Pretty insane. So you buy this asset, you buy the whole note, 279 payments remaining at basically $250 a month. Okay, you buy this asset, but how do you buy it?
How do I buy it? I bought it with my IRA.
Oh, you didn't buy this with your personal money.
No, this is strictly IRA money, my Roth IRA.
Your Roth IRA buys this whole note.
Correct.
Okay? So then you're getting mailbox money, right?
Right.
Every month you're getting $250 a month for a long time. Okay? Long time to come. Your total payback is basically $70,000, 69,
right.
781. Okay, you pay for this note $19,150.
It's a great note.
All right, so if I put it in my calculator, your annual return on your investment, yield, interest on your investment, it's all the same thing, right? It's basically, it's if, Dave, I went to the bank and gave them a $19,150 to buy a CD, and the bank paid me 15.3% interest on my CD.
I didn't know banks pay that high.
Yeah, I didn't either. So the bottom line is you got a great return on your investment. Smart deal. You bought it in your retirement account. Now, Dave, could you have bought this in your regular business entity?
Of course.
Could you have flipped the note to another investor?
I could, but that'd be taxable.
Right, but you've made a living flipping other notes, haven't you?
I have.
Okay, so we're saying this note, this deal, you didn't flip, but you have flipped a bunch of them.
A lot more than one.
All right. So I get that, and I just want to make sure the audience is clear that we're not saying there's only one thing you could do here, right? So what could he have done? He could have wholesaled and flipped the note. You bought it for $19,150. You could have flipped the note basically at 11 yield and probably at par, right? But
right.
Assuming you got an investor that had bought an 11 yield, and you could have made almost an $8,000 commission.
Which on a $19,000 investment is not a bad turn.
No, and you and I have done that a lot, right?
Correct.
I used to tell people for years and years and years, my living was made flipping notes, and my wealth was grown going long-term with notes, right? And that's one of the key elements of this business is there's not one way you can do it. You can take the same note and have multiple strategies of how you fund or flip or grow retirement or whatever. Now, Dave, there's going to be some objections to what we're saying, because somebody on the call is going to go, well, Eddie, what if we don't have $119,150 in our IRA? Okay? And we're going to talk about that. But you could have flipped this note individually and just made almost $8,000. Okay?
Correct.
That's not what you did, but it was an option.
Yeah, it wasn't my goal.
Wasn't your goal. I got that. So you buy this note and you turn around and you, in your Roth IRA, and you turn around and sell the front end of this note.
Correct.
You sold, how many payments did you sell? 125. You sold 125 payments of $250 each. An investor writes a check to you for $18,900.
Right.
And he's a guy that you met because of your meetup.
Actually, he met me from marketing. This is just one of three. He lived in Hawaii.
Okay. But most of the people you've done this with are people you've met from your meetup.
That is correct. They are my primary candidates.
All right. So just some of the other stuff you've done, you bumped along and found a passive investor that you could flip the front of the note off to.
Yes.
Now, you've brokered several notes to us.
Yes.
Okay. So we buy notes from people like yourself, but you've not done every deal with us.
No, it's you go where you have to go to make the deal work.
Yeah. So this investor buys the front end of the note, 125 payments. He's going to earn 10% return on his $18,900 investment. Okay. So you got some money invested in this deal. Let's kind of just look at an overview here. Okay. You buy the whole note in your Roth IRA account. You sell 125 payments. You own 154 payments on the backside of this note. Your initial agreed upon contract price was $19,150. You get $18,900 from the investor, and that's shameful. You have $250 invested to go collect $250 a month for 154 months out in the future.
Is that legal? I left $150 on the table.
Is that legal?
I've been told it is. Everything I've seen it is. I love it. I'll do it every day.
Oh, that is a classic example of being what we call a deal architect. I'll tell you guys a funny story. So Dave Dave did this deal back a good while ago. Okay. And we have a contest every year for our high-end students. And so Dave submitted 3 deals for the contest. Okay. And our staff was supposed to filter it down to the top 4 or 5 categories, right? And Dave has 3 deals, and all 3 of them are this good. Exact same scenario, every one of them, and all 3 of them were this good. And we finally threw our hands in the air and said, well, we're just going to submit him as a entry with 3 candidates, because it doesn't matter which one you pick, they're all equally as good. So I just picked one of your 3, by the way, today. The investor that funds the $18,900, they're going to get back $31,260, and as we said, for your $250 invested, you're going to get back $38,517 tax-free.
I want to do more.
So here's the answer. You're not going to retire on one deal, but you're going to retire because you've got the model built and it's duplicatable.
That's correct.
Right? And you've learned a leveraging strategy with an IRA that's not brain surgery, but when people know this, it changes their life.
When you get it, the light bulb just goes on and you think, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so there you go. I mean, that for me, it's like, this is why you do all this. So the investor is going to earn, I think 10.6 was his return. And then the question people would say is, okay, for Dave's $250 invested, how much is he going to get his return? And the answer is, it's kind of the pat answer that I have, which is enough, right? You don't need a calculator to do this. I mean, yes, we could go back into it and figure out the yield. And the answer would be, Dave, what's the point?
It serves no purpose. It's just money. The digits are there. Just smile. Keep going.
Exactly. That you said I like the way you said it, the digits are there and they're in your favor. So
Yes.
let's recap for a moment. Your entire note cost was $19,150, 279 payments remaining. You did that in your Roth IRA account. And obviously you saw why he did it in his Roth IRA, because effectively the $250 that he has invested in this, or he has that with after-tax dollars, which means he has a Roth IRA status on it, and he'll never pay taxes on it again. And so we teach a lot of IRA investing strategies just because it's so good. Could you do it in a company 401k, right? Or self-directed 401k that allows you to invest in what you want to invest in? Yes. Could you do it individually and not in your retirement account? Yes. Dave, could you have sold this note for more than what you sold it for? Could you have sold more payments and got more money than $18,900 up front?
I could.
You could have sold it and probably got $22,000, $23,000 for it, right?
Right.
But you still only sold just part of the note.
My goal was the back end and to make it as attractive on the front end as possible. And that's what worked.
So there's all kind of different things you could have done, but you sold 125 months. You had $250.11 invested, and you're going to get back times 154 payments. You're going to get back $38,517. Now, once again, you're not going to retire on one deal, but you can retire on knowing what you can do. So I want to talk about your lessons in this deal. Okay. First lesson. Saw his real estate market was changing and you changed. And you know, Dave, that's hard for people to do.
It was, I just knew I had to do it. So you just do it.
Okay. Well, let's tell them why you did it. Why did you know you had to do it?
Because the assets as an REO agent were diminishing. The Phoenix market was getting stronger. I knew that the cash flow from the listings was not going to stay, and I recognized an opportunity that I felt comfortable with and I can just walk into relatively simply.
All right. So the REO space was drying up because real estate was getting hot again, right?
Right.
So you saw the market change and you said, I got to change, and I'm not going to go back and list and sell traditional houses.
No way.
All right. Well, some people like that, so it ain't all bad for everybody.
This was Dave speaking after X years. I was like, nope, not for me anymore.
The next thing I say is you pursued notes because your end result was your why.
Right.
Okay. So Dave pursued notes because his end result was his why. Remember that? He wanted to live in Phoenix, buy his daughter and his grandkid. He likes hiking. He wants freedom of time and wants to have money so that he didn't have to fret about money and stuff. His why said that the note business is going to work for me because I can live anywhere and do this business. And it's really akin to your real estate REO business, but it wasn't the same.
Right.
Okay. Next was you buy notes anywhere and you can still live in Phoenix.
Right.
And people can't wrap their mind around it because you definitely can buy notes in your backyard. It's just you just figured out you could market wherever you want to. It didn't matter where the call came from.
I went where the volume was.
Yeah.
And what the opportunity, I'm just following the opportunity, just following that rabbit trail.
Yeah. I got that. So passive investor network, let's talk about that for a second. You developed a passive investor network that gives you investors that will buy these partials.
That is correct.
Okay. I'm going to say you've done that. I'm going to say you've done 2 or 3 things well to make that happen. Number one is that you did it. Okay. Number one is you did it. And the first step is acting on it. Okay, that's number one. Number two is that you started having these meetings and you perfected how you held them and how you communicated with people, right?
Yes.
Now all of a sudden, when a deal comes in, you virtually have a waiting list of people that will buy the front end of the note.
That is true.
All right. Well, then I'd just say you've been consistent.
Right.
You took action, you developed your vision, and you have been consistent, right? Those are your action items. We look at this business sometime and think it's all mechanics. The first thing you had to do is act on it. Then you had to go try some things that you hadn't done before and just get it to where you perfected it. It wasn't all perfect every time, right?
No. You learn and you go, you improve, you just keep doing it over and over, and then you are where you are.
And then the last thing is that you have consistently held the meetings, which has given you that waiting list of people that have money.
Yes.
Okay? I'm telling you, I know a lot of people has pursued this business. That's a pretty good formula you're following there. Okay.
And Eddie, it's fun.
Yes, it's fun. I never meet anybody that's successful buying notes that doesn't say this is the best thing I've ever done. My dad was 68 years old when I got him in the note business. And before he passed away, Dave, and I've told you this story before, but before he passed away, he must have told me 1,000 times. He says, son, I love this business more than anything I've ever done.
Yeah.
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 So here's what I believe this whole deal architect magic is. Okay. Here's the punchline. A deal architect means income now and later. Yes, you flip some notes. You don't flip all your notes, right? You pursue the opportunity as it comes along. Your transparency is, I'll just say that your enthusiasm and your transparency is contagious, Dave.
You know, and Eddie, what I've found is if you help somebody else, it'll come around to you, and that's my attitude.
Yeah, it does, and you've proven it over and over. And you know, I've enjoyed the relationship, and I'm glad that you guys got to attend today, got to meet my friend Dave, and just really get a sense of what life has looked like for us, because it's been a fun ride, and you know, yeah, Dave had some obstacles along the way, and he kind of got a little bit off path for a little bit of time, but you didn't give up. You came back, and it's obviously progressed good. So, Mr. Dave, you keep hiking, stay in good shape like you are, sir.
For sure. I'm doing it on Tuesday with my daughter and grandson in the middle of the day, and I love it.
All right. Well, that's awesome. I know you have your daughter and your grandson that are just treasures to you, and so thank you. Tell them thank you for sharing a little bit of your time with us today, because I know it's valuable. And we're going to keep watching you and hearing success stories with you. And I really appreciate your being willing to share with the audience.
Thank you, Eddie. You're the best.
All right, brother. See you soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.